Welcome back to Dangerous Edge. This is Ryan here, and today I'm making a video kind of like a tier list of my preference for the best places to chill out, hang out, and explore in nature. So we're gonna hop right into it right now with the bottom of the tier. My opinion of the worst environment on earth to hang out in is a desert. So obviously deserts are boring to me, at least. And I'm talking about hanging out here probably without like a motorbike or anything that makes it fun, you know? Because let's look at the desert, right? Yeah, you got a good view, you know, nice views around depending on the desert, like this one here. By the way, all these photos are from unsplash.com. I always go to them for stock photos. Wonderful site. But deserts in general, here's the cons, right? First of all, you got the heat and there's no escaping it. There's no shade, right? It's a big bummer for me. You're gonna be thirsty, you're gonna get a sunburn, you're gonna be hot. Number two, you're likely walking in sand, right? And sand is not good for your knees. It's not fun to walk in. It gets all on your shoes. So in my opinion, a desert is like the worst place to hang out. If someone said, hey Ryan, let's go hang out, I'm going to this desert in the middle of nowhere, no shade, just bumpy hills of sand, I'm not going. That sounds really boring to me. So bottom of the list, last place you'll catch Ryan Myers is in the desert. Also, no logs. Moving on, we have the snow. And this is probably the most controversial one on the list, but I'm not a big snow guy. I think that, you know, the snow looks cool, and that's why it's above the desert, because you get better views. But there's a lot of the similarities of a desert. It is a desert, technically. Antarctica is considered a desert. Because first of all, you're not immune to the sunburn. In fact, you're probably gonna get it more because you're not aware that you're gonna get a sunburn. Light bounces off the snow, hits you right in the face, boom. Every time I go snowboard or anything, I get a perfect little sunburn right around the goggles. And I'm like, got me again. But on top of that, you have the snow, which is cold. So not only are you getting burned, but you're freezing as well. And on top of that, you think walking in sand is bad? Walking in snow is way harder, probably not as good for your knees, and a lot of the times when you're stepping, you don't know if you're going into like a little river that's sneaking on by. But it is better than deserts because, like I said, you get a lot of beauty in the snow. I love being in the snow, like in passing, but it's like, what do? You build a snowman, you throw a snowball, you're done, right? It's just like, you can't stay in one place for too long. You gotta keep moving to stay warm, so yeah, the snow is just, as much as I like it, it's just not where I want to go. Unless I have a snowboard, then I'm down. All right, so moving on up, we're gonna go to the swampy kind of bog environment. Now, this is an environment that I don't have too much experience hanging out in, but as a kid who loved exploring wilderness, I always kind of dreamed of going to a place like this and just kind of like hearing the frogs, maybe seeing a gator, balancing on some logs, you know. But I could see how now, being more of an adult, that this is not really where I want to hang out because, you know, when I look at this picture, I think mosquitoes. I think of bugs. I think of plants that are going to brush your leg and now you're all itchy forever. And of course, the water is not clean. It's not like you can swim in it or anything. There's probably going to be, you know, things moving in the water that will get your attention. Whoa, what the heck is that? And you won't get to know. You know, it's not going to tell you what it is. The water's too murky. A lot of these logs that we're seeing in this photo, you're probably not going to be able to stand on. They're probably like cookie dough. You know, you step on it and it's just mold. So you're not going to be able to go anywhere with faith. You're not going to be able to balance on anything. You're not really going to be able to walk through it unless you have the right equipment. But even that sounds, I don't know, it doesn't sound that fun to be like in marshy, swampy water in like those rubber trousers all the way up to my hips. Just like, I don't know. It's not really a hangout spot. You don't sit, you gotta keep moving because of mosquitoes. First of all, you can't just sit there and have a sandwich. You're gonna get a swarm on you. So, you know, this one is a little better than the snow in my opinion, just because I haven't really been in this environment too much. So it still has that kind of appeal to me. And, you know, when I go visit places, I'm not really one to just sit down. I like to keep moving. So the snow keeps you moving too, but I'd rather be in an environment like this with bugs and humidity, rather than in the snow, just cold and, you know, sunburn. So you do get tree coverage here too. Tree coverage is really important for a good hangout in nature. Just a little advice there. So moving on, we have caves, and I love caves. Caves are super cool. I've explored a lot of caves with the Dangerous Edge boys, but unfortunately they're low on the tier list of good places to hang out. And there's a lot of reasons why, but we'll go through the good stuff first. So first of all, caves are super cool because you're isolated, you're alone, you're usually not around other people. It's also kind of a con though, because if other people are in the same cave as you, it's really gonna limit the kind of stuff that I would do. Like, I wouldn't be as loud, you know, I probably wouldn't be near those people or in the same chamber as them, so if they're hanging out for a long time, I might lose my window to go explore this place. That's just me, I'm kind of shy in public nature with other people. I'm not trying to get close, and you know, sometimes I do, but you know, anyway, that's a whole nother thing. Some cons of caves is that, first of all, they're a lot of effort to get to most of the time, and they're a lot of effort to get into to where you probably want to go. There's also a lot of ways in caves sometimes. It's not really safe. It's probably one of the most dangerous of these environments that we're going to go through. The air inside can be very dusty and murky. I went to a cave that had a pigeon, like, it was a home to a lot of pigeons, so the whole place was really hard to breathe in because it just smelled like pigeon and dust, and it was just like, it wasn't a clean cave like you'd imagine. Like, some of the ones where you can get really deep in, they tend to be cleaner, but also you have problems with people. A lot of people have that narcissism of going in and tagging up the inside of a cave, putting their name all over something that really isn't theirs, and leaving a bunch of trash. And unfortunately, that makes like the cave experience like a real bummer, you know? Caves can also be really messy, but kind of in a fun way. We went throwing in a cave once where it rained not too long ago, and there was actually supposed to be 5 chambers to the cave, but we only got into the second one because the other 3 were completely full of water. It was insane, and everywhere was muddy. So we went in knowing that we were gonna get completely destroyed, and our clothing was just covered in clay. It was really fun, but it was definitely like fun till it wasn't, you know what I mean? So I think that's just about it about caves. You know, I think that they are better. I think they're like a better day trip, a more fun adventure. I'd be down to go to a cave rather than a desert, you know, a swampy area or the snow. Caves also are really commonly empty, so you're not gonna have to deal with bugs, and bugs are a big factor. Also sun, like I said, no sunburn in a cave. So there's a lot of a good, you know, with the cave adventure. So moving on, we're gonna go to the beach. Now, the beach is probably another controversial one. It's not even halfway through this list.
Wow.
Beaches are all right, in my opinion. I mean, when you go to a beach, it's a lot of prep work, right? You gotta bring your chairs, you gotta bring your food, you gotta bring your sunscreen, your towel, you gotta bring your boogie board or whatever. And what's good about caves is if you're beaches, if you're hanging out at a beach for a long time, it's probably higher up on this list. But for me personally, it still wouldn't be. I just don't care for the ocean as much as other people probably do. The beach sand always sucks because it's burning hot. It's always got, you know, trash in it. You're probably gonna step on someone's old plastic or glass. Did I say sunburn? You can't leave your food because of seagulls. The ocean is also around the shore, like here in LA. This water's not clean. I'm not trying to get in this water and like accidentally take a gulp and then like grow a 3rd leg, even though I already have one. So the beaches are just not that good. There is a lot of merit to them, like unlimited free space to play. The sand is really good for certain sports, like spike ball. Spike ball is really awesome. You can actually take a dive and like not get hurt because you're in the sand. The sand also works really good for like you want to go in the water, swim a bit, and then just lay in the sand, and it's a great little combo. I think certain beaches in certain areas would be way higher up on this list, and some are really low. But you know, there's also some really good things about beaches, like the views, of course, are amazing. Wildlife, I love seeing otters, whales, dolphins. The sports, you know, I'm really bad at surfing. It's probably the hardest sport I've ever tried, but it's still a fun one to get out there on the board, just kind of float around. But yeah, I think the biggest deterrent for me is, again, just like that direct sunlight. You know, I can put on sunscreen and all that, but it's like I'd rather go somewhere I don't have to deal with the sun. And if you're not going in the water, then you're just sitting in a pile of sand. You're pretty much on a desert. So yeah, I mean, beaches are all right, but they're not for me. So moving on, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 6, I don't even know how many I have here, is gonna be, oh man, I always forget the name of these. What are they? Reefs or,
Come on, man.
here's the part of the movie or the episode when I'm thinking. These are tide pools. Yes, so next is tide pools, and I think tide pools are way better for a hangout and kind of a day sesh than the beaches by a lot. This is kind of like a big jump in the tier list. Tide pools, you got, let's just see, you got an amazing view of the ocean, right? You get those crashing, right? Really cool, like waves crashing on the reef, and the you know, just the water coming in and out. The rocks make fun for you to like kind of walk around, and like you can get in the tide pools. They're really shallow, so it's like you can dip your toes in, or you can just kind of dodge them and walk on the rocks. Usually these places are a lot more isolated. Most people don't make the effort. Like this one looks like it's a kind of hard one to get to, but it's still pretty awesome. You get a unique look at like sea wildlife that you don't get to see really anywhere else. You know, you get like the crabs, the purple like sea anemone things. Those things are my favorite. What a cool looking thing. Yeah, you get the waves crashing. You get shade most of the time. Like, look at this photo. You can pick a spot and just kind of chill in the shade around like whatever kind of rock structure there is. And you can kind of get in the water too in certain spots if you're safe about it, where it's like you're in a jacuzzi, you know, where it's like enough for you to sit like this and then the water comes in and floods out. It's like, it's a pretty cool experience to just, you know, either get in the water or just hang out by like a place where you can kind of just zen out, listen to the waves crashing. You get all the view, but you get shade. You don't have to deal with sand. I'm not a big sand guy. I'm probably not walking around here barefoot. That's a big thing. I got my water like sandals because you don't want to jag it up your foot. And overall, like the ground's gonna probably stay pretty wet and pretty cold, so you don't have to worry about burning your feet if you are going barefoot. Overall, a really fun experience. Like, I get excited looking at this photo to get there and be like, what can I find? What kind of nature? So higher up on the list there. Moving on, we have jungles. Now, jungles are another one where I haven't really spent too much time in, but oh man, like I know you love a good jungle movie, you know, adventure in the wilderness, kind of like looking for treasure or whatever, you know, what have you. There's a lot of merit to jungles. First of all, the diversity in the flora and the fauna are huge. I mean, I would love to go to like the Amazon and just see what grows there, you know, see what lives there, and it seems like a very like euphoric experience of being in this like world of creatures you didn't even know existed just walking by. Like, how often do you get to have that experience, you know? You just sit there and listen. You might hear some monkeys, you might hear, you know, some insects, some birds, you know. Imagine rolling up on like a wild like parrot, and it just like looks at you, and I don't even know what it would be saying because it's not trained to say human things. That's all I ever hear them say. Do they actually have their own things they want to say? I don't know, no one ever asked them. So, you know, that's a lot of the good stuff about jungles. The bad is it's probably going to be really hot there, and it's the same thing with the swamp where you're going to deal with a lot of different bugs. You're going to deal with a lot of foreign things that will make you itch and want to bite you. Also, depending on the jungle situation, it's going to be pretty dense. So I feel like there could be a nuisance of moving, you know, leaves and stuff out of your way. I could get tired of that if it's really dense. But, you know, that's more of like a trail maintenance kind of issue. You know, jungles probably should be higher up on this list because they are phenomenal in the sense of like immersing yourself into nature and getting out of the 9-to-5 busy human societies that we all get stuck in living. So really cool spot, probably higher up on this list. Maybe I'll bump it up later, I don't know. But we'll move on because jungles I think are similar to the next few. But now we have mountains, and mountains are cool. I love mountains. So there's a lot of merits to mountains. We'll start with that first of all. We're talking about hanging out, like I guess like on the mountain, which means you gotta put in some effort. You gotta get up there, and I love getting a good workout when I go into the wilderness because workout means you're moving, which means you're seeing more. So mountains are great for that. I love seeing how the perspective of mountains change depending on how you are around it or if you're going close to it. And it's crazy how one thing like a peak might look one way, you get closer to it and it's huge, or it's like even shaped different than you thought. Really cool experience of just like seeing the biggest, like the skyscrapers of nature. A lot of the times the hikes are really rewarding with the view at the top. You get a lot of perspective of like your surroundings and really understand like where you came from on the trail, not really in like the big picture of life and all that. But it's really fun. There's a mountain I hike in Tahoe a lot. I try to do it at least once a year, and it's always a great experience. It's it's a workout. So it's a hangout where you're moving. You know, it's like I said, like I like moving for my hangouts. I don't really like sitting too long in one place. So a mountain's really good for that. Some of the cons is you gotta move a lot. You gotta work, and when in a group mentality, it's a big con if someone's over it, you know, and it's like, all right, I guess return them back. So you really gotta know who you're going with, and you gotta plan out like contingencies. Like, all right, well, let's go this trail because it's quicker, it's easier in case they burn out, you know, even if you wanted to do the other trail. Again, the sun's a big problem. Other problems can be, you really gotta be resource management on this, and you gotta have like first aid, be careful where you step, you know, very cautious because you don't want to like fumble a good time by rolling an ankle. But you can get the opportunity to see really cool nature because you're going to the wilderness. You might see, you know, some mammals or birds that really don't make their way down to society because they don't like the mix, you know. So mountains are really cool. Definitely probably the most effort for the hangout, the most rewarding maybe, but still a great time. And I'm almost always down to take a good hike, you know, get to the top of something. So moving on, we have meadows or fields. Now this one is definitely a top tier hangout place in nature. We're in the top 6 right now. This is number 6. So this is like mountains, or like the previous one of hiking mountains, but I'd say it's just like all the easier parts, right? So meadows usually have an amazing view, like the one we're looking at right here. You get wildflowers if you go at the right time of year, which means you get bugs like bees and all this other stuff pollinating. Great view. You might see some other things like deer or some wolves or something walking by. I had a crazy experience in Yosemite once where we took a campsite. We were on this like 6-day hike. We took a campsite right by this little lake, and it was at this meadow too. And we woke up in the morning at 6 to like, get ready to go, and we heard some crushing in the woods. And we look out, and this wolf was running like silently, not silently, but, you know, through the meadow. And then behind it was a stag with the horns just galloping after the wolf. And it was like, you know, the sun just came up. It was like amazing. It was like 2 Patronuses of Harry Potter or something chasing each other. Very beautiful. So meadows are definitely a place in my mind of just like relaxed beauty. A great place to hang out for a long time too, because you can just, you know, the bug problem may be a problem, maybe not, depends where the moisture is, but most of the time in a meadow situation you can actually lay down like a blanket and just take a nap, you know. And like I said, you get the good views. If you need shade, you got the trees right there. You can usually kind of post up right on the tree line. So meadows are definitely up there for a great place to hang out, great place for a date. And usually if you go to the right meadow, it's big enough to where you can be isolated from anybody. Like I bet the photographer who took this photo was the only one there, probably all day. So meadows are definitely good. Going into number 5, we have, yeah, baby, I don't know what to call this, like a bouldering location. These are like an amazing place to hang out if you're ever going into the wilderness. I mean, this is like, you know, maybe this picture's hard to explain, but it's like a place where it's like not really like you have to go to the mountains, but it's like, I guess like the soil over the years erodes, and under it's just like a bunch of boulders. So this is like a great place where you can see a lot of cool wildlife. You're probably gonna see some kind of squirrels or marmots or some quick little guy. You can get shade easily, so you can avoid the sun. There's a lot of places where you can kind of sit. You can even do some light bouldering, which is really fun, getting some crevasses, you know, try and make a cool line of sequences of movements that you can make through the rock. So I feel like there's more physical entertainment here as well as shade. You can easily find a flat place on a big rock. I'm looking at one right now in the photo. You usually get a good view as well, so it's really well rounded. The only thing is that you're probably not going to get a lot of dense floral kind of arrangements. You're not going to get much of the woods, which we'll see more of that coming up. But you do have a lot of space to play, you know, and I feel like this is a great place to hang out and just play some music. You can get your own kind of boulder corner like this, and you can spend the whole day there. You can do all sorts of things, and I think, you know, there's not a lot I can say about this that I haven't like that. It's kind of obvious. I feel like it's a good one if you're like me and you like to move around, but it's also a good place to hang out and have like your base camp. You know, you're not on the move. You have like your pocket of bouldering. So really cool spot, and definitely one that you can probably find in any state and spend the whole day there, watch the sunset, and then go back home. So number 4 on our list is gonna be the forest. Oh man, I love forests. Definitely an amazing place to be. Let's just riddle off the positives. You got all the lush green nature. You got big trees. You got Nice shade coverage, which also you got wind coverage because the trees do a good job of breaking any wind if you're ever in a windy area. You got, you know, trails, which are like my favorite thing to walk on. You know, it's a little diverse. It's not just like the same one track kind of walking path. You get a lot of roots, a lot of root structures. Really fun for mountain biking too, going through the woods. Just watch out for those trees. You can usually see nature in the sense of birds and deers and all sorts of bugs and whatnot. You see a lot of really cool tree formations of how trees interact with each other and the environment around them. And always, whenever you're in the forest and you look up, it's just going to be an amazing view of the skyline with the trees blocking it, making all sorts of designs. It's just a great place to be, you know. I can't say enough about forests. They're just like the best, you know, one of the best, number 4 on the list. But what you're going to see is a lot of this is kind of different variations of forest movement. A little spoiler for you, because this is like the pinnacle of nature. You're in a place where a tree, I mean, trees are so strong and they're so dominant, and this is a place where they show their dominance in numbers, and just like the life that can grow under them is just like an amazing pairing. So the forest is definitely number 4, but let's move on to number 3. We're gonna have rivers. Yes, so rivers are very similar to a forest because it's in a forest, ideally, right? You can get rivers and jungles and whatnot, but a forest river, definitely top tier hangout place. You're gonna get everything that you love about the forest, but you're also gonna get the sounds of water. You can go in there, you can dabble your feet. If it's deep enough, you can go swimming. You can probably just lay down in it too. Look for some cool rocks, play some music. I mean, it's just like everything that's amazing about a forest to begin with, you know, a cool option to cool down. You can put your drinks in there and cool it down, like have it on a little stick, and then you have a fresh cold beverage, you know. I just love rivers. You can go river rafting. I mean, that's kind of cheating for this kind of example of hanging out, but you know, no one's gonna not want to go hang out by a river. But again, you know, there are cons. Again, the bugs, you're around water, so you're probably gonna get mosquitoes if it gets close to sundown. You just gotta stay in a place where the water's in the sun, because then you'll see that mosquitoes don't really want to hang out around there. So that's a good option. But yeah, I just feel like there's so much that you can do, and every time you go around the river bend, you're just gonna see like a whole new kind of, you know, setup of river. And who knows what that could do. There could be a log across, you could walk across that, you know. I think just hanging out one spot, relaxing, listening to the water, and having a deep conversation with someone sounds like a great day to me. So rivers are number 3. Number 1 or number 2 is gonna be lakes. Now lakes are amazing. I love lakes because you get everything that you get from a river, but there's some plus and minuses, right? So with lakes, since it's such a wide open thing, it's like you're on a forest, and then right in front of you, you have a lake, and then you got a view. So you're not blocked off from a good view from by more forest. You have your forest on your side. Usually you can see a lot more wildlife in a lake scenario because you have more view. You can see mountains, like in this example. I love watching clouds move by the mountains. You get your shade. You know, if you don't want any wind, you just go deeper in the woods a bit. You can go swimming. You know, this is where you can really pop out the sports. You can get your jet ski on. You can get your paddle boards on, kayak. Really like upgrade your hangout to be even hanging out on the water. You know, you don't have to be on the shore. And you can always walk the shoreline. That's a really fun thing to do at any lake, is just kind of see where the water meets the land all the way across it. Maybe try and swim across it. That's always a fun challenge. A little dangerous though, so you gotta make sure you're prepared for that. But overall, lakes are amazing. You can pretty much always find someone else hanging out there too. And usually with a lake, you're gonna have an easy access to it if, you know, your Forest Service is inclined to make a good trail there. So I do enjoy like a nice hike with the destination. So hiking through like dense forest and coming to like an opening like this with a lake is literally what I try and do every summer when I go to Tahoe. And it's one of my favorite like things to do every day. Just take a new path to a new lake, check it out, go swimming there, check it off the bucket list. You really like I don't know what else there is that's like, actually I know one thing that's better than this that's coming up, our number 1. So we'll just hop to that real quick because it's just as good as this, but a little better, I would say. And that's gonna be number 1 is gonna be waterfalls. Yes, forest waterfalls are the number 1 S tier nature hangout spot.
I like it a lot.
100%. And here's why. You get everything that I said about force. You get everything I said about lakes. You get the view, right? You get to see the waterfall. You get the rushing sound. You get the mist in the air, all over your face, nice misty water. You get wildlife. You get the river. You get shade. You get sun if you want it. You get a swimming place. You could set up a slack line because it's not too far apart usually. It's pretty deep. You can do just about everything. Sometimes you gotta get jumping rock too, or rope swing. I mean, come on, like, what is there not to like about a waterfall? Every time it runs, it's like, seasonally you can go and kind of pick when you want the best. You usually want to go into rushing, I would say. But sometimes, some I've been to, it's too loud, and I like to go later in the season where it's kind of like this, where it's aggressive but not too roaring. So, you know, you also get a current, which is fun. I didn't say that about the river, but the river current is actually a huge plus because it's kind of fun. You know, you can kind of like fight your way upstream a bit. You can paddle in place. You can just sit there and let the water kind of wash over you. With waterfalls, you get that too, but you can also sit under it and just get that shower, you know, and just get like a free shower. But watch out for like leeches, or I don't know what they're called, but there's little bugs that sit on the rocks, and like their whole life is hanging onto a rock in a waterfall, trying to survive, and they'll try and hop on you, do something to you. So watch out for that. But I really can't think of any cons to like a good waterfall hangout place. I guess humans are the only con. There's usually like people there, so it's hard to get a waterfall all to yourself. But I mean, come on, like you can't really beat that. You can't, I don't even know what else to say. Like waterfalls are just top tier. So I think I just cut it there because I'm just gonna keep saying the same stuff over and over again. But that's it. Yeah, that's my tier list of the best places to hang out in nature. You're wrong, I'm right. And I think that, you know, hopefully you get to visit all of these and kind of make an idea for yourself. But anyways, that was, you know, my tier list, and I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. It just got me so excited to go outside, honestly. So I'm gonna start planning a trip. Oh, you know what? I forgot something. I forgot a location. I just remembered. I'm gonna type it in right now. Where does it go though? I think that this spot that I'm saying is probably, oh geez. This is top 3. I'll just say that. The spot I forgot is top 3. Boom.
Wow,
I'm talking
very nice.
Hot Spring. This looks like a good one. Hot Springs are definitely top tier. I don't know how I forgot these. Hot Springs are essentially, you know, they vary a lot, and I've never been the one that wasn't crowded, so there's your cons. But oh my god, what a great time. You get hot water, natural occurring hot water that's in motion. You get a current flooding through. You get they're usually low enough to sit. They're like varying in temperature depending on how far down of a pool you go. I mean, this is like the secret bonus point of this tier list of the top 3. You know, you get the sound of the water, you get nature around you, hopefully you get shade. I'm seeing some shade on this one. So definitely a top tier option. I would just say that people really do a good job of ruining hot springs and making them gross. So that's like the biggest thing to watch out for. But definitely one of the top best places to hang out in nature, and very hard to find them because people keep them quiet. So sometimes you gotta go looking for yourself. You just follow waterways, you know, and kind of just try all the pools of water that you come across. That's probably your best bet to find your own secret one. But overall, like, I mean, that's where I'm gonna stop it. That one snuck into the list last second. Thanks for watching, and look forward to more content of just nature in general, or we're gonna do more knife throwing or cliff jumping, you know, whatever we want. This is Danger's Edge, so we just have some fun with it. So I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.